there's a GoToWebinar panel in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And so typically what I'd love to do is I'd love everyone who has a question during the webinar to go ahead and ask the question in that questions box, and then we're going to save them all, and we'll save time towards the end, and we'll make sure that if your question didn't get covered during the webinar that we will address it, and I'll quiz Brian, who's our guest today. Okay, so feel free to ask questions. Another common question we get right off the bat is, are we recording this session? And the answer is yes. So we are recording this webinar. I will give out my email address and the Zillow Academy email address frequently throughout this entire webinar, and significantly at the end as well. So if you're interested in the recording of this webinar, I can send you a link to have the recording for it. We won't be able to share the slides, but I will be able to give you a recorded link to access this webinar, okay? So just advancing here, I just want to also mention a couple of things on the social media front. We're at Zillow, we're big fans of social media, and if you are too, we invite you to take advantage of sort of following us on our Zillow for Pros Facebook page, as well as our Twitter handle, which is @ZillowForPros, and on Instagram we're Zillow. And in addition, we have a hashtag for Zillow Academy. It's hashtag Zillow Academy. You're welcome to join in the conversation there, and we'll follow up with you accordingly on that level as well. So big fans of transparency. Anything you see today, you can tweet. Anything you hear, you're welcome to share on social media. We're big fans of that. So everything is transparent. My name is Andrew Hofsala. I'm the Director of Industry Outreach and the host of Zillow Academy, and I've been at Zillow about 5 years and in the industry about 10 years, and I've just basically dedicated all my time and my resources and my energy to the success of real estate professionals across the United States. So met many agents. I am currently an agent as well. Have a lot of experience in the industry, and so we're just doing our best to share best practices along different topics, and so today is our print marketing. So I'd love to introduce our guest today as well. I've had the pleasure of working with Brian a little bit in the last few weeks especially, and he was a guest presenter at our recent Zillow Summit in Seattle. And so Brian, go ahead and actually introduce yourself. I'll just give you the floor here.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Brian Hopper. I'm with Relogix Sotheby's International Realty out of Seattle. I'm actually out of the Kirkland office, which is a suburb of Seattle if you're not familiar with the area. And super excited you guys are on board with us today. I think you're going to learn a lot about direct mail and how it can work for your business.
Awesome, Brian. Thanks again for joining us. And we'll go for about maybe 20 or 30 minutes today. There was already a question about how long the webinar will last. We'll go for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we'll save time at the end for questions. So we know your time is valuable. We'll go as fast as we can. So let me take us now through what kind of to expect for this session. And so one first note is just ways to keep your mailers relevant and effective. And again, we'll talk about whether or not mailers are actually still a good use of time and resources and energy. So, but if you do choose to do mailers, like, are they still relevant? How do you make them as effective as possible? And then also we're going to go through about 6 of Brian's specific key rules for creating and distributing mailers. So him and his team have put together kind of a playbook on whether print marketing is still valuable in the industry, and so he's actually going to share 6 rules that they've developed today. We'll talk about tips and tricks to keep them modern. So if you do decide to use print marketing, how do you keep them modern? And then at the end, I'm going to share a bit about how you can download a free customizable postcard template that is hosted through Zillow and Vistaprints, and we are currently running a sweepstakes that I'll mention at the end and how to take advantage of that. So the first thing as well is just advantages of effective print marketing. So, you know, there are many types of print marketing, which we'll cover today: open house, just sold signs, just listed, just reduced. These are some examples that Brian's going to cover today. But in terms of the advantages, 5 quick advantages that we sort of put our heads together over the last week as we were preparing for this webinar. And really the first one is to put the message directly into your client's hands. So the ability to actually put your message, your brand, in a physical form into someone's mailbox is still kind of a unique way to catch their eye. You can use graphics, you can use compelling messages, and you can really deliver that to them inside of their home, as opposed to like the number of emails that we're getting. So the number 2 points, sort of the marketing competition is minimal. That point, and an advantage to print, is that unlike email, which we're all getting hundreds of emails a day, these pieces are actually, physically mailed. And to the average real estate client, some clients really appreciate getting that direct piece of mail as opposed to just another email in their inbox. The third point is just that postcards deliver your message effortlessly. So letters typically must be opened, or a postcard must be physically taken out of that mailbox. And so it's really an effective, compelling, and at first glance, someone can really, you've got their undivided attention as they're coming home from work, or if they're kind of sharing their mail around their kitchen table. The fourth one is marketing costs are still economical. We understand over the course of an entire year, if you're doing regular print marketing, it can get expensive. We'll talk about return on investment a little bit today and how you can measure that. Another tip is to just look for coupons. Many different companies, I know we're partnering with Vista Prints right now on the promotion that we'll talk about at the end of the webinar, but there's several other companies that do print marketing and can offer coupons, and so some of the costs are really still economical. And then the last one is, it only takes a few minutes to create effective postcard campaigns. Whether you use a template or whether you design your own, and we'll quiz Brian on that today, just in terms of the amount of, once the systems are built, it can be an incorporated part of your business that you take forward and you really begin to incorporate and see results from. So those are kind of the advantages that we put together. And now I'd love Brian to kind of take us through the Harper Group's rules for print marketing, and there's 6 of them. And so Brian, I'll kind of hand it over to you here at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, we agree with you. I mean, how tangible print marketing is one of the things that makes it so effective. And like you said, on email, you get an email for everything. You rent a car, you book a vacation, you end up getting 30 emails just from one trip anywhere you go. And having that print media in the hands of your potential client and even your current database is so essential. Kind of one of our biggest rules is we want to make sure whatever we mail out is something that we want to look at ourselves. We almost want to make the person who receives it feel bad if they throw it away because it looks so high quality or feels so high quality in their hands. So we came up with 3 basic rules, and the rules, they don't just apply to direct mail. They apply to landscaping. For instance, when we suggest our clients to redo their yard, we always say plant in 3s. If you're going to do 3 shrubs, or don't just do a single shrub, do 3. You really got to do it in 3s. Decorating, the same thing. You want to maximize your room space by doing it in 3s. And then it really is so true for direct mail. You don't just want to hit one piece out to the database you're farming or the area you're farming, but you really want to do 3s for that follow-up.
Great, Brian. So can you explain just the 3 that you've got listed here, like just listed, and then and then the middle one, and then just the just sold?
Yeah, certainly. So one of the things we do specifically for our mailers is we try and target them around an area or a neighborhood that we have a listing in. So the first postcard that we send out is that just listed postcard. And you'll see some of our examples, but with the just listed postcard, we really sensationalize that front photo, and we really keep our postcards photo driven. So people get them and they're impressed with them right off the bat. And then the middle postcard we send out, as you can see on that slide, is the one with the 3 photos, the circular photos. And there'll be some more photos of this one later. But the middle postcard we send out in the group of 3s is the postcard that's just about us. So we've told them we got a home in their neighborhood, and now we want to tell them about us and get them thinking about selling their home and using us. And then the last postcard is the success story. So this is the gold trophy. So the just sold postcard goes out, and that's the 3rd one we send out. And we usually time them out, it seems like, over a 3-month period. And if the home sells super quick, like day 1 on market, then we still send those out. So each person in that neighborhood gets 3 postcards mailed to them.
Got it. Awesome. Let's go to rule number 2.
Yeah, I like this rule. Right, don't get recycled. So this is a rule we came up with in our design aspect. So everything we spend money, put a stamp on, or have stamped for us, we want to make sure that it's something that we would want to look at ourselves. We don't want our mailers, obviously, just to get put in the recycle bin or someone not even look at it. We want to make sure it's something that's going to be noticed and something that's just really thoughtfully designed. We try and keep a real contemporary design with, if you notice, the front of our postcards is completely photo-driven. And this White House is beautiful. We had a lot of activity on this home. But we want to just show off that front photo, and we pay a lot of money for our photos. We really set the stage for each listing to make sure that the photos look great and the listing shines. And so we keep the front of our mailers really photo-driven, just with some minimal wording on it too.
Awesome. And we'll talk more about exactly kind of what you put on the front and the backs of your postcards in a bit. So, and then the third rule.
Perfect. Yeah, so knowing your audience. Like the slide says, we want to make sure what we are mailing is relevant to the audience receiving it. So, for instance, another thing we do too is if we do an open house, we'll mail out a postcard and have that postcard state something like, "Thank you for coming out to the open house." And that's been really effective.
All right. Rule number 4, go ahead, Brian.
All right. Rule number 4, yeah, this is a great one. The thing with rule number 4 is this is like on Instagram, one of my favorite icons right now is the gold trophy. We're putting it every time we do a Just Sold post on Instagram, we're doing the gold trophy. And this is our gold trophy postcard. And so this is the one where everyone has celebrated, everyone is so happy the home sold. And we want to make sure we don't just keep that to ourselves and our clients. We want to send that out to the entire neighborhood around that home, because the next thing you know is the neighbors are calling you because they're shocked on what the home sold for, how fast it went for, and then, of course, how well it was marketed. So this one here, again, completely photo-driven. We do the bleed-over photos, so there's no border, there's no crazy graphics. We just like it really clean with the text on the top and then a little bit of the property at the bottom. And we'll go over more later about what else we put on our postcards.
Great. And Brian, just a quick question. Just curious, as you're taking new listings and you bring new listings on, do you consistently send postcards for every single listing? Do you pick specific neighborhoods, or is it part of that, I've got a new listing, these postcards go out, or are there maybe listings you don't want to send these out to?
Well, our general hard and fast rule is we want to mail it out to that neighborhood first. But then there's other neighborhoods we're farming too. Like this home here sold for $940 in the Seattle area. It's a really good price. And there was a neighboring neighborhood of homes about a quarter mile away. And we ended up sending that postcard to that neighborhood too. It's kind of an area that we were farming. Mm-hmm. And so even though it wasn't in the neighborhood where the home sold, we'll still sometimes hit it out to our other farm areas just to let them know that we're active in the area and in their price range. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Andrew, there are some times when we don't even send out a postcard to the neighborhood because maybe it's kind of I hate to say it, a favor listing, or you have a client who has a rental they want to sell, and it's not particularly a neighborhood that you really want to kind of be known as the expert in. Mm-hmm. And so those are the ones we don't really send out a postcard in.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, now let's talk about targeted mailing lists. So sort of off the topic of maybe just sold, just listed, price reduced, how about actually targeted neighborhoods or campaigns?
Certainly, yeah. In regards to how targeted you get, I mean, it really, you want to make sure you're not just wasting your dollars on the postcard. You want to make sure that you're taking the time to set up good lists and really focus on what your goal in mind is. Look at who you think your target audience is for that postcard. On the slide, we talked about first-time home buyers and young professionals. Sometimes those are hard people to nail down and to really figure out what demo that is. So something we use is a website, write this one down, it's info.com. And there's a great way on there. You can really target and nail down who exactly you're mailing to and get really specific. And then, of course, your local title rep can get you lists for neighborhoods and farms and keeping those updated. And in the bottom part of your slide there, where it says evaluate high-value groups in your market, so you really want to make sure that what you're mailing is relevant to the group you're mailing it to. So if you have a zip code, and Zillow is a really good tool for this to find out what your average sales price is in an area. So make sure the postcard you're mailing to is going to be received well by your audience, and then it's going to be relevant, something they're going to be able to relate to.
Got it. Cool. Thanks, Brian. All right, Rule 6.
Yes. Yeah, so Rule 6, consistency. So we talked about the rule of threes in the beginning, but then after that home is sold, you've done your 3 for that neighborhood, it's still really a what have you done for me lately type of business. You really want to make sure that you still stay in those people's face. You want to be the one that they think of. And we don't do stuff like recipe cards or anything like that. Basically what we do is we send out what we're doing and about us. So we really heavily self-market, and then we really heavily market our listings. And so a lot of times we'll send out postcards to the same neighborhood, and we try to do 9 to 12 touches a year to a target neighborhood. I think the slide says 4 to 12, so, or 9 to 12 on the top part. That's really our goal, is 9 to 12 touches a year for one neighborhood.
So, Brian, what in terms of postcard flaws to avoid or things that you would recommend staying away from?
Yeah.
There's a few here. What would you tell the folks?
So the first one with the mailing list, it's so easy to get mailing lists updated and then uploaded. First of all, make sure no one is putting stamps on postcards. Rarely do we self-stamp a postcard. Sometimes we keep some on hand in the office that we can just whip out and handwrite real quick and mail out. But make sure you're paying that extra 20 bucks or whatever to have the service stamp them for you. But at the same time, continually re-update the database. Nothing worse than mailing a postcard and on the top it says, or current resident who lived in the home 4 years ago. It lets the person know that you are not the expert because you don't even know their name. So we try and make sure that we have the most updated list for the neighborhood that we're mailing. The other thing, too, is make sure your pictures are high quality enough to where they can go big. So if you do a jumbo postcard, you don't want it all pixely, and you don't want it low quality. You want to make sure everything that you send out with your name on it is going to be top-notch there. You don't want anything that's poor design. We try and stay away from pre-templated stuff. There are some good templates out there, even some free templates, but we actually have more fun just kind of branding and coming up with our own templates and designs, which we'll see more of here shortly.
And then, great, okay. Any other call-outs on this slide?
The biggest thing, too, is it does take time, so make sure you work your direct mailers into your systems. It's easy to just send out one round, and then you forget to send out the rest. So whatever you need to do is either come up with an Excel sheet, or as simple as a whiteboard, or even tack the postcard to the wall in your office, and make sure that you do continually hit that neighborhood. Don't just send out one and consider it done. One and done doesn't work. So yeah, you got to keep sending out to that same neighborhood, that same farm.
Got it. So let's talk about ways of tracking. So in terms of how do you see results? So you say you spend a year and you really do farm your just solds, your just listeds, you farm your spheres of influences, you farm your neighborhoods, and then how do you know it's working?
Well, there's nothing better than getting that call and the person identifies themselves and they say, hey, I just got your postcard. We got a lot of mail from people wanting our business, and yours looked the best. I mean, there's nothing better than hearing that, knowing that, okay, we nailed that one. And that's generally what we hear when people get our postcards and call us is, hey, I got your postcard. I just saw you listed this home. Why don't you come by and look at my home and see what you think it's worth? And right then you know that it paid off. That 30-cent postcard and a 55, 59-cent stamp worked. And there's really nothing better than that. And to track that, If you have to just keep the postcard for that mailer or write it down, so be it. But the easiest way is, so we use Vistaprint, and this isn't by any means a plug for Vistaprint. I use them. We use 3 different printers, but on Vistaprint specifically, you can look at your order history and you can keep track of how many times you sent to that database. And that's a great way just to look on there, and it's kind of, they keep track of it for you. You don't have to even worry about it. All the Excel folks out there, Excel's another great way, of course, to have your assistant or have your team keep track of where you're mailing to. And that's the key, is just know what you've sent, know what you've spent, so at the end of the year you can look and make sure it was worth it, and to share your testimony like we've been able to do.
So what would you say to folks that, you know, are still considering whether or not this is an important part of their business model? Do you think you know, adding the postcard component to your marketing plan is an effective use of dollars spent, time spent, or if someone was skeptical about it, like what would you say if someone was like, you know, do you see an ROI? Have you actually had success stories with this method?
We've had tremendous success stories. I'll share one with you later on another postcard when we get to it. But yeah, the one that we saw previously, that was the house for $940 with kind of the gold tint to the night photo. That was a home that we mailed a postcard to, just one postcard, and it was a for sale by owner listing. And we sent the postcard, and they responded quickly. And that's generally what we do, is if we see a for sale by owner sign go up, we know, okay, let's send a postcard to them, and let's start targeting to them. But we've had success many times. The next slide you'll see is a home that we mailed postcards to, and we've gotten 2 responses, 2 listing appointments, one coming up here in April, in this same neighborhood because of this postcard. And the funny part is it's actually the people that responded have the exact same house plan. And so we really set precedence that we sold that home quickly, and we are that area neighborhood expert. And that's the goal with these, is to have returns like that and have the feedback like that from people.
Great.
It's a good segue to the next tip, or the next slide too, which I think we'll talk about is what to make the postcard look like, Andrew.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a couple of things you've said so far have just resonated in terms of if I'm a homeowner and I'm getting quite a few maybe postcards, or there's several agents trying to farm the same neighborhood, it's a high dollar, high valued neighborhood. Yours somehow sets you set yourself apart. Let's talk about some of the things that, you know, folks can actually identify on the front of the postcard first, and then we'll look at the backs. But I know we'll look at kind of your just listeds and your solds and open house as well. But focus on just this one for a minute and kind of run us through the bullet points on what to do on the front of postcards, or what not to do, essentially, as well.
Totally. Exactly. Yeah, what not to do. So we try and not make it all about us. Because it's all about the seller, right? We're pushing the seller's property, but everyone knows at the same time you're extremely pushing your own brand. And so we want to make that palatable for the seller, but also get our brand out there too. And so this one you see here, we logo blast at the bottom, and then we have on the back we put our company logo, which you'll see later. But the upper right or upper left is where we put what kind of the action item, or really what we're telling people. So this home is just listed, it just came on the market, and the biggest thing, no matter what text you have over the photo, you got to have a good photo. You got to have a good photo, and this photo is one that turned out great. We've greened up the grass a little bit in it, put some Photoshop fertilizer on there. We got the blue sky going. So you really got to make sure that the photos you use are just going to be the best image of that property. So basically what I'm saying is take the time, spend the money to have photos done professionally. Don't shoot them with your iPhone or have a buddy shoot them. Take the time to have a good company shoot the photos for you, because that's what it takes. You got to nail that thumbnail.
Got it. All right, so let's look at just a couple other examples of front sides of the postcards. Do you want to make any call-outs on any of these?
Yeah, so you can still see the same theme we use throughout. We mix it up a little bit here and there just because we get bored doing the same thing too much. But the overall goal with all of our media, from flyers to our website to our Instagram, our Twitter, our postcards, everything we do is photo-driven. I mean, that's what we're in, is a photo-driven business of people's homes. That's our product, is their property. So we want to showcase that extremely well and have that just be the biggest focus. The open house one you can see is a little bit different. We wanted to make sure we had some text on there that really specified the date and the time of the open house, and then also our builder's logo in the corner too. But these are our basic 3 templates we use, and then our team postcard we'll go over later to kind of show you what that looks like.
Cool. Awesome. So let's run through quickly sort of the back of the postcard. What kind of things what details you're adding there?
Yeah. So with every piece of print media we do, we want to get people to our website, and the thing we want them to go to our website for is we can capture that lead. They can go to one of our contact forms. They can see more pictures of the client's home. They can watch our HD videos. They can see our agent bio. So we want to direct everyone to our website. And a couple ways we do that is with the QR code there. You can see that on the left, and then the double-sized font of the URL to our website. And then coupled with that, we want to make sure we do our branding. So we have the Realogics Sotheby's logo and then our team logo next to it on the top. And then we talk about the home, because this postcard, the main reason is to get people familiar with this home. We want people to put this postcard on their fridge, give it to their neighbors, give it to their friends who are over for dinner, and really try and still promote this property for us, because a lot of statistics tell us that people want to pick their neighbors. And so make it a piece that people are happy to share with their neighbors, and have them kind of be your troops out there marketing this for you. And really, it doesn't work unless you have a good quality marketing piece. And then the back of these ones, Andrew, we can kind of see the evolution of what we did. We changed our photo to be round a little bit, but pretty much we keep the back the same. We usually either black and white or color on the back, either whatever we're feeling like. But those are our basic 3 templates. And you can see it's kind of monochromatic. We keep it a white backdrop, black text, and still a photo on the back. We want people to see us and know who we are.
Got it. Okay.
The next, yeah.
So let's
the
talk
next slide
about
is one of our favorites.
Go for it.
Yep. I'm on a roll. Let's do it now. So this is our team piece, and if you guys aren't marketing yourselves and your team, you're missing out on a huge facet that people have interest in. People want to know who we are, who you are, and what you do, and who's on your team. So this is a great shot of our team, and we use this photo a lot. We use this postcard a lot. A lot of times we'll change the back of the text. So we have an open house follow-up we do with this one, where if we do an open house in a neighborhood and we get a bunch of addresses, or we'll even reblast the neighborhood with thank you for coming to the open house. Whether a lot of people came or not, we'll still send that back out thanking them for coming to the open house. And it's just another touch. So on this one here, again, it's a shot of our team. You can see the QR code in the front, and then we like to do the little social media icons just to remind people where else we're at.
Got it, Brian. So let me quickly, I'm going to just grab one quick thing that off my computer. And what I want to do, Brian, is maybe ask some of the questions that came in, and then I'll kind of transition into our sweepstakes.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me just kind of get to where the questions are. Okay, so there's a lot of questions that have come in. So are you ready? I'm probably going to just start firing them your way.
Yeah, let's do
a
it.
couple of questions along the same lines in terms of no listings. How do I start? So there's, the common theme we've been promoting is, get your just listed postcards out there. But what if I'm a newer agent, I don't have listings? And it kind of goes back to that conversation of how do you farm neighborhoods. So what would you recommend for folks that don't have listings? How would they get started?
Yeah, if you don't have a listing, a couple ways you can do that is find a listing in a neighborhood and ask permission. There may be a few agents who wouldn't grant the permission, but you can ask them, say, hey, your listing is beautiful, you got beautiful photos, I'm going to spend money and market this for you, and I just want to put my name on it saying, hey, any questions, I can represent you as a buyer. That's one way to do it, and check with your designated broker to make sure you do it through all the rules and that your MLS has set forth. But the other way is, like the piece on the screen there, do your own marketing. Get some awesome photos of you, whatever you're doing, whether it be you in an area of the part of the city you work in that everyone knows. Whatever you're doing, get a few photos shot professionally, of course, of yourself or of your team, and push that. Push you. Let them know that you're the area expert, and you will be that shortly. So I would encourage you to do that.
And what about the like in terms of listings that aren't colorful or pretty? So listings that are less appealing to the eye. Do you use Photoshop? Do you market yourself like you just mentioned? What do you do in terms of that?
Well, we just did a listing yesterday that we are not going to do postcards to, but we still put it on our other platforms, like on our Instagram, on our Twitter, Facebook, all those social media platforms. But in regards to that, is we just don't send out a postcard for it. We kind of skip that neighborhood and save our marketing dollars for the areas we want to work in. And we just have more fun working in the areas that we like working in.
Yep.
So
Got it.
just to be honest with everyone, I mean, right? Sometimes you do listings just to either a favor for someone, or you really need the listing, but you don't want to be really branded or typecasted as the neighborhood expert for that neighborhood.
Sure. Brian, what was that website? Someone wants to know. It was info. What was the website that you mentioned?
Info.com.
Info.com. Okay. And what was that used for again?
You can get really specific and targeted demo info for an area you want to get after.
Okay.
And it's also really good for Facebook marketing. So if you want to get some specific things for your Facebook campaigns also.
Okay. Talk about, do you do anything for sports schedules, email, like holiday card type, mailers? Would you still consider those part of your 9 to 12 a year?
We don't send those to random farms. We just stick with About Us and about our listings to our farm. But we have a database of past clients that we call them our foot soldiers. So people who are giving you referrals, people you just want to hug when you see them because they give you so much business. Those people we do send a mailer to, especially with our sports teams dominating. Go Seahawks! So yeah, we want to make sure that we do that for those folks. But we don't send out just random schedules, or we kind of stopped doing. Actually, we never did do recipe cards. We're really just trying to stay with About Us and then about our listings. We do a personalized letter each year to our Foot Soldier database, letting them know about us. And we recently made a brokerage change, and so we mailed a very nice piece that wasn't cheap to those folks as well, just because those are the folks we really want to take care of, because they make our business. They're our lifeblood.
Cool. Question on newspaper advertising. So one listener he basically says he's questioning the effectiveness of newspaper advertising. It's expensive and seems like it's dying. Do you have any thoughts on newspaper?
And yeah, I'm not going to throw a plug for Zillow, but I mean, if I'm going to put marketing dollars somewhere, we'll put it towards another zip code rather than being in that paper. But at the same time, there are some papers that do work. We have a couple small cities outside of Seattle that we work in where they get a free local paper once a week, and it talks about the local sports team. And we advertise a listing in those when we have listings in those areas. And it works because people in those cities are reading that little paper. The other one we do is most metro cities have a business journal. So we have one in Seattle called the Puget Sound Business Journal, and we do advertise in that as well. We do a couple magazines too, but it really just depends on the listing, if it's the right listing for that audience. So find out who's reading those publications. Got
it. Another question just in terms of, how to get mailing lists. So, is there, like, for surrounding neighborhoods, you take that listing, do you call the title company? Like, how do you get the mailing list for a neighborhood that you want to farm?
Yeah, that's a great question. We flew through that little part. But so what I do is get a hold of your local title rep or escrow rep, and I'm sure if you're a new broker, you probably have 6 of them calling you wanting to take you to lunch. Pick one. It doesn't matter which one you use, whatever one you're comfortable with, whatever one you click with, and find out who their customer service is. So we use First American Title, and First American has a person that they pay called customer service, and it's specifically, I like to think that they're for us brokers, but they do other stuff too. But I use them heavily. They send me all my legal descriptions, all my deeds, and sends me all my mailing lists. And I can get pretty specific with him on the audience we want to target, such as someone who moved in the neighborhood in the last 5 to 7 years, has an assessed value of 300 to 600K. They can look that up and get that to you in the format that you need. So, for instance, Vistaprint, and not another plug for Vistaprint, but just who we use, they have a template that you have to use for the databases. And the title company can get you that info in that specific template if you tell them what template you need. So.
Okay. Another question, quickly, there's a few more to get through. What do you suggest about walking or delivering postcards, maybe door knocking? Are you still doing that, or are you just relying on mail?
Yeah, great question. Just yeah, real quick answer on that is, so when my team's doing a listing, we usually have a videographer, a photographer, our interior stylist, her assistant, and myself, all there at the same time. And it looks like 5 black SUVs pull up and they think it's the government showing up, but it's not. And so we want to make sure people know that we're safe, we're friendly, not to be afraid of us. And so yeah, when that's happening, I usually have a few down minutes while stuff's going on, and I'll go. If I see neighbors out kind of peeping, seeing what we're doing, I'll go talk to them and diffuse it if they're just staring at us, and introduce myself. And then so if I'll usually bring some postcards if I have them with me, and I try to remember every time to just hand out and say, hey, here's our business card, and you hand out this 5x7 postcard that's super nice. It's impressive. People are expecting a cheesy little business card, but you hand them the postcard and they love it. So yeah, we do that still.
Well, that was actually another question, like what size of postcards? So you mentioned 5x7. Are there other sizes, or do you typically stick to that size?
Yeah, there's the 3x5s, and then 5x7s are the 2 main ones for most print companies you'll see out there. We typically do the 5x7s, or they call them the jumbo postcards, just because they're bigger. We look bigger in them, and no, but they're more noticeable. They don't get caught in the mix. It's easy between all the junk mail, and I think they're more effective, and plus they just look better.
Great. Let's do one more question here. Yeah. What's the best content message for personalized letters? And then also someone was wondering what the best type of like personalized letter paper is. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Personalized letter paper, something you just want to look professional, have a header and a footer on it. A little thicker cardstock is always nice, but we don't buy into getting all crazy with super thick cardstock or burnt edges like a treasure map or nothing crazy like that. We try and keep it simple but consistent. So if one person gets a letter, it's on the same template. And yeah, we do send out letters. We send out thank you letters, or with a gift card to Starbucks or something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, and then we're gonna kind of move into just the next part, which is the sweepstakes that Zillow and Vistaprint are partnering with. And then Brian, is it okay if I give your email address out at the end of this, and folks can email you? They have other questions.
Definitely email.
Okay.
Hit us at Twitter at Hopper Group, and we can continue this convo offline.
Yeah, I've got a slide for it as well. So just quickly, everyone who's listening, some of the listeners have already actually entered into the sweepstakes, and some of you haven't. So I just wanted to sort of just make this known while we're on the topic of postcards. So Zillow partnered with Vistaprint, and we are doing a sweepstakes that's called Rise Above the Rest. And basically, it is a sweepstakes. Once you enter into it, a couple things can happen. First of all, there's an opportunity to win 10,000 postcards or $1,500 towards printing. And one person will win that. 6 people will win an additional prize of $250 towards the printing, and then everybody who enters actually gets an opportunity to win and receive 25% off Vistaprint discount. So how it works, it's pretty easy. The URL is at the very top of the page right there. It's the http://zlw.re/riseabove-sweepstakes if you want to write that down. And then, again, the grand prize winner will receive $1,500 towards Vistaprints, and that's about 10,000 postcards. 6 people will win $250, and then everybody wins a 25% off discount through Vistaprints, but also this template. So by entering into the sweepstakes, you then have the opportunity to have access to this a templated postcard that we have. Brian kind of mentioned, maybe staying away from templates. We want to give this as an option if you don't have as colorful marketing as Brian's group does at the moment. But in either case, this could be a neat option. There's 3 versions of the template. One's a for sale postcard, just sold, and then just listed. One's a neighborhood watch, and then one's market trends. So this is free. They're free just by entering into this, and that's from Zillow for Pros, and they're totally customizable. And again, you might have an opportunity to win some free printing there. So take note of that. And then we answered a lot of questions. If we happen to not get to your question, you really want to find out more information, feel free to email me directly. I'm andrewh@zillow.com. The Zillow Academy feedback, there's going to be a survey as well after this. We'd love your feedback. Anything else, or if you would like a copy of the recording for this webinar, you can emailzacademy@zillow.com. And then there's Brian and the Hopper Group's information, Realogics Sotheby's International, and his Twitter. He's got tons of followers. I'm sure you wouldn't mind having more. And if any of you have folks that are relocating to the Pacific Northwest, Brian's a great guy and would love to help as well. And his email is hoppergroup@gmail.com. And then it is 10:45, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us. Brian, I want to thank you. Do you have any last words for our audience?
No, thanks guys for tuning in, and it's just, you got to start somewhere. So just start with one today and build on that. And any other questions, let us know. We're happy to help.
Okay, thanks. And there's a few folks that said the URL is not working. I will make sure. Just feel free to email me directly, and I will get you the correct URL if that URL is not working. So here's my email address again. I'll make sure to email you right back the correct URL. Okay. Thank you everyone for your time, and we look forward to having you again on another session. Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay.
Take care, everyone. Bye.